Welcome to Homemaker and Boss. I am Tracy, your host. How are you? This podcast is designed to empower women, to uplift, and basically we can build our empires. But also as well, I know how hard it is to juggle the house, juggling all the family commitments, doing everything. We are expected to do so much, so I get that. So today I thought I would talk to you about building your network. So this was crucial to me in my success. So I'm 46 years old. 46 years young. My daughter, she is 20, going to be 21 this year. Now, I worked throughout her whole life so far, really. It was a case of I went back to work when she was 5 months old. And when my career really started getting going, and I went for a sales development role. So I was out on the road and, it meant sort of driving around from place to place throughout the country. It was a case of she was going to nursery and the childminders would pick her up from nursery or myself. It totally dependent with which age. So for instance, even when she was at school, I would drop her off in the mornings at a childminder's. They would then do the school run for me. And then I would then pick her up from the childminders in the evening because they've picked her up from school. Now, this is because in my life, my dad, he had a full-on career himself, and he also had younger children as well. My mum, she was running her business, so I didn't have family to fall back on. And her father, who is no longer on this planet, he didn't have anything to do with us. Even though we were together for 11 years, it parted, and he parted ways with us completely. So be it. However, I then had to make sure that I was going out there, making sure that we had the money coming in, and I had to put lots of things in place. Now, what I did, I had 3 different childminders. So I was very aware that when, say, one of them went down ill, that was going to screw me over. So it was kind of like the main childminder. That was like the one that we went to. And do you know what? There was this lady that we used. Her name is Justine. Justine was probably the best childminder we ever had. She was so good with me. She knew that, say, I was going into London with work, driving round, this, that, and the other. And there was someone who's it was way before she was even supposed to start work. And yet she was like, hey, drop around at this time in the morning. I won't be ready like normal, but drop her off. I'll still be, say, in my dressing gown. She was so accommodating. So these people helped me completely. There were times, like going back when my daughter was, say, about 5 years old, where, say, for instance, I was on the motorway and I was stuck. There'd been an accident on the motorway, and nursery, I was supposed to pick her up from nursery at 6:00, and I'm stuck. I'm not going anywhere. Oh my God, the fear factor as a parent that because they charge you see, I think it's like every few minutes or something, it just, starts getting bigger. It's something, I want to say, like, it's so long ago, like £10 per 10 minutes each time you're late, something like that. Anyhow, there were charges. Not only that, but they don't want to be staying behind. They have lives too, and I get that completely. So I relied very heavily on friends and family at that point, because if I couldn't get there, I would have to, mostly it was my sister. My sister was a godsend. So she lived probably about 10 miles away, something like that. And what I would do was I would phone her in complete distress, help, sort of thing. There's been an accident on the motorway. I don't know how long I'm going to be. Do you mind just, going round? And also pretty sure, positive, in fact, she had a key to our house so that she could just go in with my daughter, make herself, whatever she wanted. Me and my sister are really, really close. In fact, I'd go to say my sister is my best friend. I believe she's even my soulmate. I believe that soulmates just aren't lovers, that they are people also within your life. I do resonate with my sister, I believe. So anyhow, different going off on a tangent there. But we're very close. And she loved my daughter. She loves, my daughter very much. So, it wasn't too much of an ask, but she did run around, and I was so grateful. So when I used to win incentives at my work, and because my sister was pinnacle to, the late times where I couldn't get her because I was stuck on a motorway, for instance, what I would do to repay her was, because I'd won an incentive and it was to take a person, and I literally made sure that on most occasions, I think there was only one occasion where I didn't take her. So I took her on these luxurious holidays that I had won. We went off to Paris on the Orient Express. That was my way of thanking her. I took her alongside me. Where did we go? We went to Beijing and Hong Kong together. So that was quite nice. She went on a few others as well. But I wanted to make sure she was repaid. That was my thing, because she, like I say, she was absolutely pinnacle for me working late, even though it wasn't working late. It was just me being stuck. I couldn't do anything about it. Because I'd have to say I live in an area where there just seems to be a lot of accidents on this particular motorway, and you just never can predict it. And, she would drop everything. And she, I would like to think that she knows that I repaid her for that in kindness by doing the holidays. So I'm just going to put a quick advertisement in to help my podcast. So I'm just going to do that now. So I'm just going to put in a little ad here for Gusto. So I use Gusto Cooking and it comes straight to the door, okay? And it is value for money. So as a single mum who watches the money's coming in and money's going out, I also like to make sure that we are eating really delicious foods. So I make sure that I'm having great foods, and so is my daughter. Not only that, but I have found that when the Gusto box arrives, we help each other prepare, and this seems to be our time when we can talk, because we're chopping up, say, making the foods, prepping together, and there's hardly any distractions around us. And I kind of find it's really helped my relationship with my daughter at that time. So in the description box, there is a link to give you an amazing 65% off if you want to try it. So, like I say, a little advertisement from me with regards to Gusto. And I'm back. Here we go. So I just think it's absolutely crucial to have these things all set up in place, because it's needed, like I say. Now, the other side of this as well is when my daughter was actually ill, because, that happened too. I felt at the time, which people don't really talk about this as much, like this whole fear factor of having to phone up work to say, hey, my daughter, or say you got a son, that they're ill. Now, before my daughter's dad stopped all contact with us altogether, I remember this time where, because he wasn't working, and he lived a 5-minute walk away from where we were living. And I was in complete distress because we got up that morning, all set for the day, we're ready to leave the house. And I'm pretty sure I was like doing up my daughter's laces or something. She looks white all of a sudden. And there she goes. She is sick. But I remember this lady was traveling down a 2.5 hour, something like that, drive to come down and meet me because I'm supposed to be training her for the day. And I was like, oh my God, she's traveling down. She would have already have left, and she's supposed to be meeting me. Now my daughter's ill. What am I going to do? And I remember going into a bit of a panic about it, thinking, oh my God. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just stay home? But I didn't. I felt so much pressure with my work. So what I did, I contacted her dad. Like I say, this is before all contact sort of stopped, really. And he just didn't bother with us. Or her rather. I contacted him and said, can you please look after my daughter? Because I have to go. I have to go and meet this lady because I was dedicated, really was, to my work. And he did. He did come round. He was really annoyed, like really annoyed. He was annoyed at me. In fact, he really embarrassed me in front of all the neighbours because it was in the morning where everyone's going off to work. So I'm going to say all of this was all taking place around sort of like 8:15 in the morning. That's when everyone's leaving, getting in their cars, going to work. And he shouted at me in front of the whole neighbourhood, telling everyone that I was a terrible mother. Wait, brilliant. So all I was trying to do was provide us with money. And I felt pretty bad, I've got to say. So anyhow, he took my daughter, he's the father, for goodness sake. And I went off to work and this lady was really late. Anyhow, I was like, oh God, and I felt so bad. I cried on the way there, or just being shouted at, which was absolutely, I just thought that was so uncalled for, I was just trying to earn us money because he wasn't working as well, like I say, and I was just trying my absolute best to provide. So anyhow, I came back, obviously, and then, like I say, after that, that all contact just stopped completely because he never financially ever supported us. So I had to bring in the money because it would have been nice, how nice would that have been? A bit of money, for child support. But no, he didn't. So that was all very helpful. And by that point as well, he'd moved. And yeah, it was all great. So I have brought up my daughter single-handedly, which, I hope later on in life, she looks back on and appreciates what I've done. But what I want to say is, this isn't about me right now. This is about you. And, it's so crucial. Like I say, get these people, get them in place because they are pinnacle to your success. I had to do this, like I say, you can't do anything if your own child is ill, but if their child is ill, say a childminder, you need the backup, like I say, have your main one as your key point, and then go, do you know what, I'll have these other ones talk to the other childminders or other people and sort of say, look, if this happens, I need backup, because if their child calls in ill, it's very different, I think, to calling in, even though there was this terror that I felt, hey, my child's ill, blah, blah, blah. This has happened. I can't go to work. Because I did do that also later on. It wasn't the only time, by the way, when I was chatting just then about my daughter. She was ill quite a few times where I've had to phone in work, after that time, because obviously I didn't have contact. I was just letting you know about a particular example. But yeah, just pinnacle ones. But what I would say as well is that where my sister was so helpful, and if you've got someone who helps you, just give them something in kindness. Like I said, I was able to give my sister something quite luxurious because I was like, hey, I've won this holiday. I've achieved this holiday by doing the incentives and achieving, there was criterias and everything. And I felt I wouldn't have been able to do that, though, if it wasn't for the backup. So hence the fact I did take her. And she appreciated it, and she talks about the times where, the fun times that we had on some of the trips and stuff. So yeah, put things in place. If you're looking to go out on the road, no matter what it is, have backup plans. Backup plans to me are just crucial to getting ahead in business, because if that all else fails, if someone else lets you down, that's the thing. You just never know with other people how they're going to let you down. And if someone lets you down, boom, you're there. You've got your backup plan in place and nothing is going to stop you from succeeding. So I hope this has been helpful. I do hope you'll come back and listen to the other podcasts that I've got for you as well. So if you could share, subscribe, anything really, it all helps creators like myself. So in the meantime, I want to wish you all a really good day and have a good week. So take care then. Bye-bye.